Considering the sexy scenes he's read, totally 18 plus. Don't you know who you're talking to?
Daddy. Strength to hold in what is trying to get out. Okay. Temptation.
He lowers himself down between my legs and watches me closely as he pushes himself inside me. I cry out, moaning with pleasure, uncaring how feral and out of control I sound. Kyle moves slowly at first, kissing me so softly that I feel like I might explode. Then he pulls back and slams into me hard.
I shall save you all from spiders. I'm an expert trapper and releaser. That's so sweet that you release them. I murder them.
Well, hello. Good evening. How are you, beautiful people? Namaste. I always feel like there should be some sort of like iconic, but yet soft and peaceful welcome. Like fireworks without the bang. Yeah. Anyway, Stump Mama's Mama, hello. Mr. Thomas, haven't seen you in a hot minute. And Lady K, how are you? Good to see you. Hugs to all. You know, I like hugs. Hugs are good. Okie dokie. Stump Mama's like, yeah, okay. You could say, what's up? Oh, that's Buttspot. I was reading Buttspot. I was like, what? You could say, what's up, players? What's up, players? Players. What's up? I don't know if I've got the je ne sais quoi for that. But it's fine. Tonight I'm finishing off a cream soda. I haven't had one of these in a while. Delicious. And then of course we have my usual grape flavored water. That music is loud in my head. I'm good. How are you? I'm doing pretty well. Thank you. Doing pretty well. My son went to school today for the first time this week, thanks to snow and whatnot. Is he going to school tomorrow? No. Why? Because we're getting another round of snow. This time, blizzard conditions. I'm so excited. I hate snow. Yeah. Yeah, if I see you live, I just lurk lately, but I also have been on Twitch like once in the past month. Dude, wow. You must be busy. Also, I like the word Buttspot made. Plabuxa. Plabuxas. Yep. Plabuxas. I was going to say, saw you're getting a blizzard. Yes. So great. We had plans a couple Fridays ago to go to a friend's house. It was this big group gathering. It was going to be great. Everyone was bringing their own charcuterie board of stuff. It was going to be great. You know, adults talking with other adults. It got canceled because of weather. It was supposed to happen this Friday, tomorrow night. Canceled again. I'm not happy. I am not happy. My wife and I appreciate each other's company a lot, but we have both said to each other, it would be nice to see other people. Anyway, tonight's puzzle is basically a lovely gardenscape that I feel like a mansion would have, hence our book. But because of Stunt Mama's comments this morning in her stream, it's close to 900 pieces. It's in the 800 range. So, have fun with that. Okay. If anyone wants to complain, please file that under Stunt Mama. She didn't think I would, but I did. I did. Should you remind her again? You should tell her that the puzzle's ready, but not say anything else. Just tell her it's a really good puzzle and that she would not want to miss out. Let's see. What other news do I have to share before we get into the book? Oh. So I've got 2 gigs, voice gigs, which I'm super stoked about. One is for an animated cartoon type thing. It's not really a cartoon. It's an animated story. That's a much better description. It's an animated story. I am playing the role of the narrator. I'm very happy about that. I've already submitted my first line, or my first recording of my lines, waiting to hear some feedback. And then the other one, I just signed an NDA for today, so I can't say too much about it, but I can tell you that it is story-esque, and it's very erotic. So, got hired for that one. That one should be 2, 3, maybe 4 recordings series-wise, so that's pretty cool. And just before I went live, Wow, Stream Elements, you're a little behind on the 8 ball there. And then just before I went live, I put in an audition for something else. So, you know, fingers crossed. I haven't heard anything back regarding the documentary style that uses the David Attenborough style voice. But that's okay. It may take some time. I'm sure they're not, you know, just gonna pick anybody at random, you know. It's kind of a big deal. It pays pretty well, so they're gonna take their time. And I hope whoever gets it does a great job. I just want that person to be me, that's all. But seriously, whoever gets it, I hope they nail it. So yeah. That's about it for now on the news. I hope you of all have had a great week. I hope things have been going well, or as well as can be expected. Mr. Thomas, sounds like you've had quite the busy, well, who knows, weeks, it sounds like. So hopefully things are going smoothly for you. And I appreciate that you came to hang out with me, to hang out with us. Sounds like you haven't been on Twitch much at all, but yet you're here. That means a lot to me. So I appreciate that. I do. Life has been a mess. Oh no. Don't say that. We don't like messes. Hopefully the mess can be cleaned up. Or something like that. You quit your job. Last day is the 26th. Whoa. Do you have something else lined up? That's no small feat. I hope you're quitting for good reasons. Excuse me. You're also moving out of state? And no? Holy cow, your life did get flipped, turned upside down. Holy buckets. I'm so sorry to hear that. Quitting for my physical and mental health. Well, I'm glad to hear that, sort of. Glad you're taking care of you. But yeah, where are you going? Are you coming back to the Midwest, or do you have a place to go? I'm sorry. I gotta got all these yawns out. They're driving me nuts. Sort of. Boy. Can we get hugs for Mr. Thomas, please? He's been through it job-wise. Every time I'm in his stream, he's always supporting other people, providing some hope and peace in their life. But he's been going through it. Moving in with my friend's family for a bit while I figure my life out. Okay, well, I'm glad you have a place to go with people that can help and support you physically and, you know, mentally as well. So, yeah. Jeepers. All right, well, you know what? On that note, I say we get into it. I'm going to take one more sip here. And I'm going to do this. I don't do this very often. On that note, we're out. Goodbye. Nope, this is the reading screen. As you can tell from all the books. Yeah, my pleasure. I want you to be able to relax tonight, you know, even if it's only for a couple hours. Just chill out. Don't worry about the ads. I swear I'm going to stop yawning. Okay. We are on Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is titled Natalie Tells It All. Natalie is Donnie's sister. And it sounds like, based on family secrets about their father, that she's got some beans to spill, if you will. Okay? So let's get into it. Another yawn. I'm fine. It's just been a long week. Okay. Donnie's hands were shaking as he tried to open the package to his new phone. Rachel was looking at him with concerned eyes. "Do you want me to help, baby?" she asked, trying to calm him down. "Why did they put the phone back in the package?" He gave the package to Rachel. She handed him the phone, and he dialed a number. Rachel could hear him quietly saying, Come on. Fuck, no answer," he yelled. "Why don't we drive to her house?" asked Rachel. "I don't even know whether she still lives in the same house," Donnie answered, putting his head on his hand as a sign of desperation. "I want to go back to the office. Let's see what we can do about my upcoming case." Quite the pivot. Rachel drove back to the office, parked the car, and they both walked together toward the building. He could feel the judgmental looks he was getting from some people. He was sure by this time the news had come out, and everyone was wondering what he was doing at his workplace instead of preparing for important things like the funeral. "Mad Locust, hi, how are you?" His hair has become scruffier. He wore the clothes he had just bought without a tie. He was unshaven. His eyes looked red. His face looked exhausted. His walk was odd, especially now that his gaze was facing the ground instead of the smelling flower posture he normally had. The silent looks were even stronger when he saw his team. "Are you okay?" Sally asked as she stood up, walked towards him. Her voice alerted the others, who moved slowly. Donnie didn't say a word, and he just gestured to everybody to follow him to the conference room. They all sat in their specified chairs. He struggled to move his chair. He let out a big sigh as he sat down. "Guys, I need your help. There's something big going on, and I can't put my finger on it. Someone is playing a game, and they're good at it," he said as he leaned forward and rested his arms on the table. Mark said, "Do you want us to investigate? Start a defense? Just tell us what you want us to do, and we will." Emily and David both agreed with a loud, "Yes." Jalen shook her head in agreement. "It's too late to investigate. But we will anyway. I believe it has something to do with my parents. I need every single detail about my father, no matter how big or small. Whatever information you can gather. Hire a private investigator if you have to. Money isn't an issue." Hi, all good in bed relaxing, good music. This will help me fall asleep nicely. Wonderful. And hi, B12. Enjoy the lurk. "I'm so sorry about what happened, Donnie," said Jalen in a quiet voice. "Yeah, man. Is there anything we can do?" asked David. "I just need what I just asked," replied Donnie in a sad voice. The following silence was filled by a new ringtone. He looked at his phone and recognized the phone number. "Party Hard Games, what's up? You did claim first, so therefore you are." Exactly. "Nat, it's Donnie. This is my new phone number. Something terrible has happened, and I need to see you urgently." Donnie didn't wait for Natalie to say anything. "Donnie, you're scaring me. What's going on?" Natalie asked. "I'll explain everything when I see you. Can I come over?" Donnie wanted to end the conversation quickly. "I'm at work. I can see you at the coffee shop near my workplace. I still work at the same factory. I just have to ask whether I can leave. I'll sort something out." Donnie gestured to his team for a pen and a piece of paper, and within no time he was writing down the address. Once he hung up the phone, he stood up and said, "Rach, let's go. Guys, please work on it." They rushed to the car, and he handed Rachel the piece of paper with the address. Rachel glanced at it and looked surprised. "I know, it's not the best neighborhood." Donnie looked ashamed. Rachel drove off, and after 10 minutes of silence, she said, "Donnie, don't take this the wrong way, but if Natalie had a case against your mother, then she is struggling financially. You were handling—" "Stop. Don't finish this sentence, Rachel," he interrupted. "She's the only family I have left." "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "Just stop, please," he interrupted again. Then there was the awkward muteness again. Rachel thought she should reserve any comment to herself. The smooth ride started to change to a bumpy ride as the roads gradually changed from wide and straight to narrow and jarring. Donnie noticed the change of scenery. He looked at the old brick buildings. "Somebody come get her. She's dancing like a stripper." I hear the puzzle is crazy, and It's all your fault. Just kidding. Not really. He looked at the old brick buildings, the rusty old shop doors, and the graffiti. Rachel noticed the discomfort on his face, but couldn't tell whether it was because he was not used to being in places like this, or whether he was ashamed of having a sister who lived in a place like this. "This is it," she said, and nodded her head toward a small coffee shop with only 2 tables. Each has 2 chairs facing one another. Oh my god, this puzzle ripped my eyeballs. You're welcome. Mr. Rhino, what's up, man? How you doing? Did I see purple? Purple's here? You're purple. Feeling good? Excellent. Thank you, Jazz. Hi. Appreciate that. We're on page 120, by the way. 120. If anyone's thinking about checking out the book. I love the way it looked dubbed. That's what I do. Dubbing awesome. Natalie was sitting in one of them. Donnie took a deep breath as he got out of the car. He waited for Rachel to walk around the car as if he needed her to be next to him. She realized, she realized he was losing his confidence. "Don, what's up, baby brother?" Natalie stood up when she saw him walking in. "Let's sit," he said as he gently held her shoulder. He stood across the table and Rachel pulled up a chair and sat in the middle. He looked into Natalie's eyes and said, "Mom is dead." Natalie looked down and locked her fingers together. She sighed and smiled at Donnie as her eyes teared up. "I'm sorry, Donnie," she said with a quiet, sobbing voice. "I'm so sorry." Natalie pulled a handkerchief out of her purse and she put it on her nose. She could barely get the words out. "How?" "She was murdered, Natalie. Murdered," Donnie sobbingly said. They held each other's hands across the table. Rachel felt the anguish Donnie was in and held his shoulder, running her hand down his arm. Natalie felt there was something peculiar about this touch. "Nat, this is Rachel. She's my secretary. We've also been dating for 2 years." The mixed emotions of seeing her baby brother with his girlfriend and hearing about her mother's death were confusing for a second. She could only express them by holding onto his hands tightly. "Nat, what did you want to tell me about the other day in the hospital?" he asked without looking at her. Natalie remained silent. Her lips became dry. She had to run her tongue across them, and she rubbed her fingers together. "Don't lie, Nat. Just tell me the truth. I am exhausted. I feel like I'm pulling teeth," he said, once he noticed her body language. "It's not the time to talk about this, Donnie," she said quietly. "I'm not asking again. If I meant anything to you, as a brother, as a friend, please tell me now." She took a deep breath and let it out, wiped her eyes of the tears, and said, "It's about Dad." He moved his head an inch closer, encouraging her to keep going. "What do you remember of our childhood, Donnie?" she asked with an affirmative voice. "I don't know, just scattered memories. I remember we used to run around the house a lot," he said. Donnie, Dad didn't leave. Dad was killed. She paused after saying that, trying to give him time to absorb the information. She then followed, "You were there, Donnie." He could feel his facial expressions change. He squinted his eyes, trying to figure out what she was talking about. "I was... where?" "Under the bed." She hesitated. "Just tell me the whole story, Natalie," he said as he started to lose his temper. "I better sit in the car." Rachel got up, but felt a strong grip on her wrist. "Please sit, Rachel," Donnie said. "I want you to hear this." Natalie continued. "Donnie, Dad used to get really drunk. He lost a lot of money at poker. He used to come home barely able to walk. Mom fought many times with him, and it just didn't stop. They used to fight every night. The yelling and the shouting got louder and louder. I remember you used to get scared and you'd run and hide under your bed. You would stay there for hours until either I or Mom came and got you out. Until that day." "What day?" "It was Halloween. He was supposed to come take us trick-or-treating after work. He never showed up until almost midnight. Mom was very upset. They fought and..." "And what, Nat?" he yelled, making the workers at the coffee shop look at him with concern. "And you woke up. You hid under the bed. You slept in your Halloween costume. She told him to apologize to you because you were very excited about going trick-or-treating with him. The problem was, we didn't know you had a real gun with you under the bed. When he came to check up on you, he didn't see you in bed." "Wait, what are you saying?" His body shook. "I'm sorry, Donnie. I'm telling you the truth. After that, we came running to your room. We couldn't see you. Mom yelled at me to go back to my room. I did, but I kept the door slightly ajar." She struggled to pull him down the stairs. "I walked out of my room and glanced over. I could see his blood tracks all over the stairs. She left him in the middle of the house and made a phone call." Donnie smiled sarcastically and said, "You really want me to believe that I killed Dad?" "I'm just telling you the truth, Donnie." She paused, trying to read his facial expressions. He banged his fist on the table. "You're a liar." "Donnie, calm down, baby." Rachel put her hands on his shoulder and chest. "No, Rach, she is a liar. That's why Mom didn't want him near us." "No, Donnie. Mom didn't want me near you because she was scared. She thought I would tell you the truth," she said calmly. "That's why she wanted you to handle my case. She knows as a lawyer you can't have personal contact with me." "Well, isn't that cute, Nat? She had it all planned, didn't she?" he said sarcastically. "So, are you behind it all then? For what? Money? Baby, please calm down. They're about to ask us to leave." Rachel tried to be a safety valve to calm him down every time his volume went up. "Donnie, are you serious? I didn't even want any money for years. I only wanted to be a part of the family again. I don't care about the money. It's all dirty money anyway," said Natalie as she started to get fed up with the conversation, which so far had a negative impact. "What do you mean, dirty money?" Donnie, we were broke. I told you. Dad lost all his money gambling. After he disappeared, Mom declared him dead and claimed his life insurance. Wow. Okay. Let's go, Rachel. He stood up and walked to the door. I'm so sorry, Natalie. He just got so upset about your mother. Please forgive him. I'll get him to talk to you again once he's calmer, I promise. Rachel picked up her bag and keys. Rachel! Donnie yelled. They both got in the car, and Rachel turned to him and said, That was not necessary, Donnie. After all, she's your sister. You need to get mental rest. Give your brain some rest, Donnie. Look, let's take care of the legal issues. Let's take some time off and spend it in a hotel. Just change your scenery. I promise I will stay with you all the time. Donnie remained quiet. Rachel stopped talking. I'll be right back. He opened the door and rushed to the coffee shop, ignoring the shouts Rachel let out calling his name. He opened the door and saw Natalie sitting at the table, crying. Natalie, you remember that night, right? Vividly. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer within a second without thinking. If you think about it, I'll know you're just making things up. Okay, Natalie scoffed. What did I dress up as that Halloween? A cowboy. And that is chapter 7. Quite an emotional roller coaster, don't you say? So far in this book, ow, I cut myself the other day and it stings. In this book so far, we've had a lot of interesting chapters. Some of the storyline haven't quite matched up. Not everything has made sense. But I will say that chapter 7, at least that part of it, was the best we've read so far. That was pretty good dialogue. I appreciated it. I was afraid she was gonna say clown. A clown, Donnie. Nope, he was a cowboy. That's right. So yeah, I think that was a pretty good bit of dialogue there. I appreciated that. So as you probably guessed, chapter 8 is next because that's how it works. You have 7 and then you go to 8. Chapter 8 is called The Funeral. But before we do that, I owe a lot of push-ups. So many. So I'm gonna do some to get that count down because we're at 74 holy buckets. Just gonna crank some out. Okay. Good. I can't do 74 at once. That's not happening. I did 34 because that's a good, you know, good number for the count. And thank you for that, Redeem. I will definitely take a drink. Thank you. It's warm in here. What happened? I was fine a minute ago. Weird. Look at you guys cranking away at that puzzle. So proud. Pretty sure exercise cools you down. Ha! Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. It's a lot of green? Yes, well, it's like the pinned message says, assuming it's still there. It's Stunt Mama's fault. I don't even remember why it's her fault anymore. I just know it is. So, there you go. Don't listen to her. She lies. See? I can accept that. Yep. Me too. Did nothing? I think we can go back to your video from today and find out. Chapter 8 is called The Funeral. The long line of what? She also said today that green is her favorite color. This is true. She did. So, in a way, you're welcome. Mom, I'm telling Dad. Anyway, we're at a funeral now, so act appropriately, please. The long line of cars gathered at the cemetery. The color black felt fitting to what Donnie felt at the moment. People had not seen him in a long time. The last time he was seen, he had messy hair, he was unshaven, and he definitely did not have the black suit on that he normally wore. Rachel reached out and hooked her little finger around his. It was not a big secret at the moment that they were dating. He felt like it was the right thing to show people a bit of what she showed him. She had been taking care of him for days. It was not a big deal for her to take care of all the funeral arrangements, considering her amazing organizational skills. She did not disappoint, and she had a blank check. Donnie felt his eyes were dry. The green grass, the clear sky, and the sunny weather did not bring comfort into his heart. All he could think about was this strong woman who had lived her life controlling everything and everybody, was lying in that coffin only 6 feet away. Helpless, powerless, and lifeless. He could not figure out why. Mr. Jackson, my deepest condolences, said Leonard, the company's CFO. She was an amazing woman. Without her, the company would have drowned. I'm sure you will continue on the same path. Thanks, Leonard, said Donnie without a change in his facial expressions. I do have some updates, but it's not the time to discuss it. Can I call you in a few hours? He nodded in agreement, but now his mind was distracted as he looked over Leonard's shoulder and saw Natalie getting out of the car. She walked toward where everybody gathered to hear the priest say his words. "Why is she here?" he whispered to Rachel. "Baby, she's her daughter. She had to be here," she whispered back. Donnie gave her a disappointed look. Then he was consumed in his ocean of sorrow once again. He slowly drifted away as the priest's words were vanishing away from his ears. He was then brought back to reality by a gentle touch on his shoulder. Rachel indicated that he needed to toss a handful of dirt on the coffin. What? Hold on. Okay, found my place. Rio, hi. Thank you for raiding. Y'all, Rio was doing a really cool puzzle on her stream. Okay. It's like this almost 3D effect, like you can move around the table and grab pieces and turn them and put them in place. It was like, it almost felt VR-ish, just without being in VR. It was cool. Is there anyone here that can do a shout out? If not, I will do it. I just need to keep my thumb right here. Otherwise, I will surely lose my place. Jigsaw Puzzle Dreams on Steam. It's free. Yeah, that's the one. There we go. I got it. Thank you so much for raiding me, Rio. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate you. We're just getting into chapter 8 of our book, so feel free to chill out and stick around if you want, or if you have to raid and run, I understand. Do whatever feels good. Do whatever's right. But ultimately, thank you. And you are welcome. If you don't know Rio, you should. She's a wonderful human being. Red Dead getting almost first. Good job. Yes, go get some noms. And I moved my thumb. Gosh darn it. Oh, right. Okay, we're good. I found it. Rachel indicated that he needed to toss a handful of dirt on the coffin. He needed that motherly care, someone to guide him through the small things in life. He could take care of the big issues. He could drive a car, but someone needed to hold his hand across the street. He could care less for the people who walked in front of him. He blocked everything out, went into his mind and hid under the bed. His body was on, his brain was off, until his eyes gave permission for his mind to come back. He saw Rachel looking at him. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you," she said in a quiet voice. "You don't need to apologize. I should have known better." "Donnie, please hear me out." Natalie started to get frustrated. So that should have been, he saw Natalie looking at him. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you." That confused me for a little bit there. So that's a oops on page 131. Okay. "You really can't help yourself, can you? You know why I came to see you? It's because it's only a matter of time before I lose everything. Everything. That was an opportunity to reconnect. You would have gotten the money you've needed, or the money you've been asking for." "You think I want money? Donnie, I don't. I just wanted to be back in the family. She kept me away for years. Her voice got louder. Baby, let's go. Rachel tried to pull him away and back to the car. No, wait. So, you wanted back in the family, but she didn't let you? And now you think the way to win me back is by making up a story that I killed Dad? Baby, not today. Just calm down. Let's go. Rachel tried again, and this time she was successful, but he had to say it before he turned around and walked to the car. Don't contact me. Ever again. Natalie pulled out a pen and a piece of paper from her purse and scribbled something on it. She folded it and gave it to Donnie. Please, call this person if you don't believe me. Just call him. Hesitantly, Donnie walked toward Natalie. The curiosity of finding out the truth about the doubts that had been swirling around in his mind beat the anger he had toward Natalie. He took the piece of paper and said, What is this? He was there when it all happened. Please, just call him, she said as she put the pen back in her purse, turned around, and walked toward her car. The back seat felt lonely, although Rachel sat next to him. She rubbed his thigh, trying to comfort him as he kept staring at this piece of paper and holding the phone with the other hand. Call him, she said in a soft voice. He looked at her, seeking clarification. Just call and find out what she meant. Who this person is. He might have answers to some of the questions you have. She followed. Donnie didn't say anything. He dialed the number and kept looking at the name written on the paper. Charles Lindell. He had heard that name before, but couldn't remember when and where. My guess is it's probably like a childhood friend, maybe? The phone kept ringing and ringing, but no one answered it. It went through to voicemail. Donnie hung up and turned to Rachel. No answer. It's okay, baby. Try later, she said as she rubbed his thigh harder. They arrived at the hotel where they had been staying for a week. Donnie could not trust staying alone in one of his properties. Therefore, Rachel suggested staying with him in a hotel where he felt safer. He hadn't gone to work since the day his mother died, except for that quick visit where he wanted to obtain the surveillance video and prepare his team for his defense. Hey, Darth. What's up, man? The door opened and they both got out of the car. Rachel held onto his hand tight. She had been missing this for years. To be seen with him as his girl. It was unfortunate that things should have gone that far for him to acknowledge her, she thought. Once they got to their suite, Donnie jumped on the bed, resting his back on the backboard, one leg dangling from the bed and the other one on top of it. He looked at that piece of paper again and said, Who do you think this person is? He could hear Rachel answering back from the bathroom. I don't know, babe. Let's look him up. That would be hard to do. I'm sure there's more than one Charles Lindell in L.A. It wouldn't hurt to try, she said as she walked back to the bedroom. Let's see. She sat next to Donnie on the bed and started searching on her phone. There's a professor, a lawyer, maybe that? There's someone who got arrested with that name. I don't know. You're right, there are many. She gave up and threw her phone on the bed. She rolled on her side and put her arm on his chest and rubbed it. Super. Atkin bro. Thank you so much for the resub. 16 months? I swear you just resubbed like a week ago. How has it been a month? Brokenson. Thank you for the resub, Super. I appreciate you. Let me give you a shout. There's a lot of people in here I need to shout. And let me edit the push-up count. We're at 45. I just did a bunch. We were at 74. And then I pushed the ground 34 times. Knocked us down to 40. No worries, dude. I'll be lurking. Bros have our Brothers Gate 3 session tonight. That's awesome. Rock on, man. I appreciate that. Really, I do. Tell your bros I said hey. Play nice with each other. Or I will tell somebody that's close to you. Let's see. Oh, right. We're at the bottom of 135. She rolled on her side and put her arm on his chest and rubbed it. She unbuttoned his shirt and slipped her hand in. She felt the warmth of his body. That gave her comfort. She snuggled closer to him and put her head on his shoulder and said, I love you. He lowered his head, faced her, and whispered, I love you too. They started kissing. Then he felt his phone buzzing. He had put it on silent at the funeral and never turned it back on. Wait, his phone's buzzing, but it's on silent? Anyway. That's Lindell. He stood beside the bed and answered the phone. Hello? He asked hesitantly. Hello. I missed a call from this number. Sir, my name is Donald Jackson. I am Catherine and Edward's son. My sister, Donnie, Dr. Lindell said with an old, shaky tone. When it vibrates, it sounds like buzzing. Yeah, I know, but the way it was described, it made it sound like everything was, like, muted, essentially. But anyway, that doesn't matter. Do you know me, sir? Donnie looked at Rachel with a surprised face. Of course I know you. How are you, kid? I'm sorry. How do you know me? I've been waiting for this conversation for many years. Why don't you come see me? Do you have a pen and paper? I'll give you my address. Donnie gestured to Rachel to give him a pad and pen. He wrote down the address. He then said, Okay, I'll see you tonight, at 8. He hung up the phone and gave Rachel a wandering look. He shrugged his shoulders and said, Mystery has become part of my life, I guess. It's okay, baby. We'll figure it out. Later on that afternoon, Rachel and Donnie went to a restaurant to have dinner. Donnie had been giving his mind a vacation. He'd been away from work, but he did not miss it. He found comfort in Rachel's company. The warm feeling of her proximity brought a remote comfort he'd never experienced before. He decided to slow down the fast-paced life he was living. Oh, the wine is good, she said after a sip. Reminds me of... Hang on. That's Leonard, he said as he pulled his phone out and answered it. Rachel could see his facial expressions change as he was listening to what the CFO was saying. I can't turn the page. She put the fork down and she started to get worried. She knew that look. She did not move until he finished his conversation and hung up. Well, she was intrigued. He said it was me. What was you? I bought all the properties. Everything was done with my permission. That only means one thing, Rach. I'm either going crazy, or someone has access to my accounts and all my information, he said while looking at her in utter disbelief. Utter disbelief? Utter disbelief. Disbelief. I don't understand. What does that mean? It means I need quick answers to what's going on. It means I may be going to jail soon. I need to say something. I need you to understand. Anything, baby, she said as she reached across the table and held his hands. I don't have anybody to trust. There's a good chance that there's a big conspiracy behind all of this. And if that continues, I might lose everything. Now, while I can still control the company, I want to write everything under your name. Rachel smiled and pulled her hands back and said, Baby, don't be crazy. Rachel, listen to me. This is no joke. I trust you. There's no way around it. It has to be done, and it must be done soon. Donnie started to get frustrated. And that's the end of chapter 8. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I know. I was thinking about my own phone. When I put my phone on silent, it won't vibrate. And that's what I was thinking of. It doesn't matter though. It's a minor detail. It was just the wording that threw me off. That's all. Oh. I don't know if Super can still hear me, but I'm adding your name to the drawing. Because I forgot to write it down before. In the hat. There we go. And I don't know why, but my sub counter is not working. So that's awesome. Can't even rely on Twitch's own technology. So I may have to go about this another way. I'm gonna have to look it up and see if I can do something with Stream Elements or Stream Labs or something else entirely, because the one here from Twitch itself isn't doing what I want it to do. I want it to capture every sub, whether it's a gift, a resub, a new gift, I don't care. Catch them all. It's not doing it. And that annoys me ever so slightly. Anyway, I think we're at about 21, 22. I tried to count the other day when I forgot, of course. Should have written it down. But it's fine. We'll get there. I'll figure it out. I'll look for another option, and I'll get rid of this one. And I'll set it up so that it's in sync with where we actually are for the Amazon giveaway. Or I could do Steam too, for that matter. I'll let the winner choose. But in the meantime, we're on chapter 9. Look at this dashing fellow. He's got that look about him. Chapter 9. It's a bit too close to my mouth. Chapter 9 is called Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor. Yes. Who is Chris Taylor? We haven't come across that name yet, have we? I don't think so. That was the name of one of my boyfriends in high school. I bet it's him. It's gotta be, right? It makes sense. I'm reading the book about Chris Taylor. You're in the chat listening to the book about Chris Taylor. It's gotta be him. Sure. All right. We're on page 140, by the way. I forgot how many pages this book is. I swear I do this every stream. 254. So, 114 pages to go. Oh boy. Well, let's see what chapter 9 has in store, because I don't know who this Chris Taylor is, but I think we're going to find out. The office felt quiet. The business had slowed down since the death of Catherine had brought a dark cloud above its roof. The new receptionist, Julie, was not familiar with the schedule and the system. She did not have proper training and hadn't worked in an office before. It made things more chaotic. "Take a deep breath, Julie," said David as he passed by her desk, going to the conference room. "I'll get better, trust me. I was once the newest addition to the group, and I know how you feel. I sometimes feel like I'm still finding my way around here. And I've been here for almost a year." Julie didn't say anything. She just smiled back at him, trying to keep the tears from bursting because of the pressure she had since she started working here. David walked into the conference room as Emily was halfway through her sentence. "The fingerprints are practically... Seriously? That's me? That's my fault? The fingerprints are particularly important. We have to wait for the final report, but if there are any other fingerprints, we have to focus on that." "Ah, David, did you make that application to get those pictures?" "No, ma'am. I've got something even better. I have the actual pictures," he answered as he opened the folder he was holding and pulled out the photographs of the crime scene. "Very good. I didn't think we could get them that quickly. How did you do it?" "I know people," he smiled. "I do have something to say, if I may." David was a young lawyer. His quick thinking drew the attention of Donnie when he had suggested a change at a court hearing that no one in the group, not even Donnie, had noticed. He offered him a job on the spot. "Go on," said Emily, who was the first lawyer who started the office with Donnie. "I think we're focusing more on proving Donnie is innocent rather than trying to confirm someone else did it. Did it. Because there's a D at the end. Emily, looking unimpressed, said, "David, we are lawyers, not detectives." "Who said we should do it?" Everybody turned their heads towards him, intrigued by what he had to say next. "I know someone. A friend of mine, who I have known for years, does this kind of work all the time. He said as he was getting excited that they were listening to him. "Okay, how about this? You deal with your friend and let us prepare the defense. You have an open budget," Emily said as she started looking down at the pictures. "Okay." David left the conference room with excitement as he rushed out. He smiled at Julie on his way out. The drive to Chris's place took him 30 minutes. Well, I guess we're starting to figure out who Chris is. Mr. Redthorn. Hello, sir. How are you? Great to see you. How's your shiny head? Polished, I assume? Welcome in. Enjoy the puzzle. It's particularly large this evening, thanks to Stunt Mama. And Thump Gaming's in the house. What's up, sir? Happy Thursday to you. Good to see you. With only the finest? Well, I'm glad to hear it. Ding, ding, ding. Thump, I just noticed you have this cool heart thing. Gold pixel heart. What is that? What does that mean? Ah, thank you for donating via the Twitch charity tool during Twitch. Okay, that's cool. Good on you. I like it. Nice. We're in chapter 8. No, 9. Sorry, we're in chapter 9, Redthorn. Just so you're aware. We just got started. The drive to Chris's place took him 30 minutes. He parked the car in front of the house, which looked small but modern. The small front yard was surrounded by a wooden fence. The German Shepherd was lying on the doormat in front of the front door. The front of the house was white, except for the door, which was black. Very popular color combination these days, by the way. I like it. David stepped out of his car and walked around until he got to the front gate. The dog noticed a stranger and growled while his head was still on the floor. He showed his teeth as a first warning sign. As David got closer, the dog got up and barked loudly, non-stop. Only the leash on his neck stopped him from jumping over the fence and ripping David apart. David thought the metal chain was about to break, and he stayed a few feet away from the gate, not knowing what to do. He felt relief when the front door opened, and Chris finally showed up. Easy, Sherlock. Easy. Sit. You named your dog? Sherlock, David asked, looking amused by the name. Chris took a puff of his cigarette, blew it out, and then smiled and said, Fitting, huh? How are you doing, man? It's been a while. Come on in. Chris was wearing denim pants, and that was it. He had nothing on the upper part of his body, exposing his otter-type body. His bare chest and the veins on his arms reflected the workout he underwent every day. Except when he was at work, which occasionally lasted days. He sometimes spent weeks in a different state, or overseas even. Nothing covered his shoulders but his long brown hair. They both walked in. Chris threw himself on the beanbag and grabbed a bottle of beer that was next to it. He took a sip and used the bottle to gesture to David to sit on the sofa opposite him. As David was about to talk, a skinny girl in a bikini walked from one of the rooms to the kitchen, which was separated from the living room, where they were sitting by only a small ledge. David suddenly stopped talking as he looked at that girl. He watched every move from the moment she went to the kitchen, when she opened the fridge and grabbed a drink, until she disappeared from where she came from. David then looked at Chris, who was smiling. I've been busy, Chris said before he took another sip. Anyway, what were you about to say? My partner. Well, my boss. Donnie. His mother was murdered, he said quieter. Catherine. Wait, how do you know all of this? Chris laughed loudly and said, I get this reaction a lot. It's my job, man. He took another puff of his cigarette, then reached out to the ashtray on the left side of the beanbag and put it out. You want me to find out who did it? Can you? David couldn't hide his excitement. For 150,000? Yeah, sure. I need access to his mother's information, though. David got his cell out of his pocket and said, I think I know just the person to do that. He dialed a number and said, Julie, I'm going to send you one of my friends to you. Then he moved the speaker away from his phone and whispered, when can you go? Once I receive the check. He winked at David. Tomorrow. He'll be there tomorrow. He's skinny with long hair. He has a heart tattoo on the back of his hand. His name is Chris. Please give him whatever he needs. If he needs you to get access to any office or computer, please be in his company so that nobody can stop him. Then he hung up the phone and got his checkbook out. Look, I'll write you a check for $25,000 and tomorrow I'll give you the rest. I just don't have that kind of money in my account, but I really want this to be done. No problem, my friend. Now, I need to go back to the bedroom. He smiled and winked. I get it. I'm leaving. David stood up and walked to the front door, and he glanced over through the open bedroom door. He could see the end of the bed with 4 legs stretched over it. He turned around and whispered, You have 2 women in there? I told you. I've been busy. The next day, Julie was still looking lost. She was mumbling as she was searching her computer for a certain document. She flipped the page on her desk with her right hand, looking for a password as she rested her head on the left one. Poor Julie, she is so stressed. I've never seen a cuter posture than this in my entire life. She looked up and saw his face, the skinny face with prominent cheekbones, the gentle smile accompanied by the shimmering green eyes. He moved the bit of hair that was covering his forehead and he ran his fingers through the top of his head. She couldn't stop looking at his glistening full lips as he showed the tip of his tongue for a second. Hi, I'm Chris. I believe David left something for me, he asked as he showed his glossy white teeth. Yeah, let me look. She still had the picture of his face imprinted on her mind as she opened the drawer on her desk looking for the check. I have it right here, sir, she said as she looked under the papers scattered on her desk. Wait a minute, ma'am. May I, please? He extended his arm towards her hand. She was confused, but couldn't resist giving her left hand to him. He held it and said, With those hands, you could become a model. I can write poems with every single finger. Stories that would change the history of tales. Thank you. She blushed. She noticed the heart tattoo on the back of his hand. Hey, judging from your desk, it looks like you're busy and stressed out. How about you forget about it all and join me for a cup of coffee on your break? He asked, still holding her hand. She couldn't pull her hand away. She was still looking into his eyes and couldn't help but say, Okay. Well, I'll be on a break in about 30 minutes from my lunch. Great, he said. I'll meet you downstairs in my car. I know a lovely place close by, he said as he rubbed the back of her hand gently with his fingers before letting go. Chris, David yelled as he came out of the room. I'm glad you made it. Did you get the check? He looked at Julie, who was zoned out, and said, Julie? Julie! Huh? Yes, Mr. Carter, she said as she managed to unlock her gaze away from Chris. Yes, what? Did you give him the check? No? I can see it's right there on your desk still. He reached out and grabbed it. Julie felt embarrassed. She kept looking down to save herself from the humiliation. David handed over the check to Chris and said, "This is the rest of the money. I will claim my check from Mr. Jackson's partner. I worked out everything with her. Okay, man, I gotta go. Julie will give you access to everything you need." David left in a hurry. There was a moment of silence, then Julie looked up and saw him staring at her. "What do you do, Mr.?" "I find out things others can't. I see things others don't," he said as he leaned over her desk, resting his hands on the scattered paper and said, "Call me Chris." The convertible Corvette was parked in front of the main entrance when Julie walked out of the building. She opened the door and jumped in. He put his right hand behind her neck and pulled her toward the middle. He leaned in and kissed her passionately. She couldn't help but unleash a big moan. Her legs felt like jelly and her heart raced. When she opened her eyes, she looked at Chris, who was now straight in the driver's seat. "You ready for coffee?" he asked. She cleared her throat and said, Yes, I am." The sound of the Corvette filled the street as he sped up and drove away. And that ends chapter 9. I was a bit confused there for a second because one of the layouts in the formatting threw me off. Chapter 10 is printed down here at the bottom, but it should actually be up here. So I thought there was something else I was about to read, but nope, that is the end of the chapter. That Chris guy, pretty suave. He's kind of like the James Bond without the license to kill. Only the license to thrill. Cheers indeed. Here's to you. I'm gonna have to cut out early. No worries, Kay. Go rest. I know you're struggling. You have to get up early too. That's no fun. Not at all. Please take care of yourself. We need you. And we're reading your book next, as you know. So, you want to talk about spiciness? I will, I promise. Hugs to all. Good night. Good night. Good night. It's interesting, our timing usually only allows us for 3 chapters. But tonight we get to do 4. So that's fun. And chapter 10, of course, is Dr. Lindell, who we spoke to on the phone, or I should say Donnie spoke to on the phone. We have a picture here representing what this person might actually look like. An old man with a white beard. So there you go. So unless anyone has any hesitations, I'll just keep rolling. I feel like I've got a good pace right now. Be good to keep that up, as they say. So, page 151 is where we're starting. Are you nervous? Rachel drove to the address Donnie got from his phone call. She could see him staring in space. Intrigued more than nervous. I don't know what to expect. A lot of things are happening to me and I can't make sense of any of it. I don't even know who this man is. Yet he gives me his address and invites me over. Don't you find it strange? Well, babe, we're almost there. Soon you will find out, she said as she looked at the side roads, not to miss the one she meant to turn on, as she listened to the GPS in the car. The house was in a quiet neighborhood, a green front yard that was surrounded by a line of flowers. A small koi pond in the front lined by rocks, with a calming small waterfall on the side. No gardener would have done such a good job looking after a front yard like this. Wait, no gardener would have done such a good job? It seemed like the job was done wholeheartedly, as if someone had nothing else to do but take care of the house. All the front lights were lit, so were the indoor lights. Donnie and Rachel walked slowly toward the front door. Donnie took a deep breath and rang the bell. After a short moment, a man with a thick white beard and gray hair opened the door. He had a small hunch on his back from old age. The years also reflected on the wrinkles on his face. He stumbled a bit as he pulled the door open toward him. His gaze was intense and focused. His eyes were bright and alert with a lively spark that suggested quick wit and intelligence. He looked at both of them and said with an old, tired voice, "Oh my, you're a man now. I'm assuming you are Donnie." Yes, sir. This is Rachel, my girlfriend." Come in, son," he said as he slowly moved back to open the door a bit more. Okay, so my guess at a childhood friend, incorrect. The inside of the house was tidy. Everything looked like it was in the right place. Donnie quickly noticed the big library on his right side as he walked to the living room. He managed to get a glimpse of the titles of some of them. They were all related to psychology. The living room was homey, and the beige sofas looked comfortable with warm-looking blankets laid on their backs. "Please, have a seat," Mr. Lindell said as he struggled to sit. "Sorry, the arthritis has affected my knees and hips. They told me I need surgery, but I don't think it will add more years." We're sorry, Mr. Lindell." Dr. Lindell," he interrupted. Dr. Lindell, we don't mean to take much of your time. We will leave once you tell us why we're actually here," Donnie said, trying to get to the bottom of the story. "I would really rather speak to you alone, if I may," he said as he looked at Rachel. "Sorry, dear, I don't mean any offense, but this is something I've kept for many years, and I don't have the privilege to disclose any information without permission." "It's okay. You have my permission. You can talk in front of her," said Donnie affirmatively. Dr. Lindell leaned forward, locked his hands together as he rested his elbows on his knees and said, "You may not remember me, although we met each other multiple times. You were only 10 years old then. I've changed, but I don't think that's why you don't remember." He then got up, excused himself and went to another room, leaving Donnie and Rachel more confused. They could hear his slow, shuffling walk disappear as he went to a room at the end of the corridor. It didn't take them long to hear his steps on his way back. This time he was holding a folder. It looked worn out and old. Some of the pages were hanging out of it and were bent. He managed to sit down with difficulty, still holding on to the folder. Your mother called a couple of weeks ago and wanted this folder. These are your medical records from when you came to see me. I am a psychiatrist. I don't understand. What did I need a psychiatrist for? I don't think I'd forget you, no matter how much you've changed, Donnie said with frustration. No, son. You don't remember me because of something called repression. It's a defense mechanism where we manage to push down a bad memory. Dr. Lindell gave Donnie a moment to absorb the information, then said, Have a look at this. I kept it for many years because your mother asked me to. How is she, by the way? Donnie took the folder, opened it, and said in a non-caring manner, She's dead, as he read the first page. The way he said that sentence left Dr. Lindell speechless. He thought it was best not to dig into details. He had been doing this for enough years to understand when to speak and when not to. Donnie's facial expressions changed as he flipped one page after another. They continued to change. His eyes squinted, he rested his elbows on his thighs, and he started to become more fidgety. Rachel could see him getting stressed as she tried to take a look at what he was reading, but failed. She looked at Dr. Lindell, who didn't seem surprised, as if he were expecting this kind of reaction. This can't be true. So, what are you trying to say? I'm not trying to say anything, son. I just want you to take this home. Read it. My advice to you is to continue with professional help. I may have retired for many years, but I can still recommend someone. What's going on, babe? What's that? Rachel got frustrated for being out of the loop. Donnie handed over the folder to her, turned to Dr. Lindell, and said as he got up, Okay, I will think about it. I have your phone number, and I'll call you when I make up my mind. They both walked out, but Rachel was still going through the pages trying to make sense of what was happening. She was so distracted that she did not turn around to thank or say goodbye to Dr. Lindell. She only took her eyes off the pages when she got to the driver's side and opened the door. What are you planning to do, baby? She asked after a quiet period of time. I guess I have to start seeing someone again. If what's in that folder is true, I need professional help. He picked up his phone and made a phone call. Rachel looked at him briefly as she was trying to focus on the road. She could hear him say, Hello, Emily? Don't worry about my case. Just put everything on hold. I'll explain everything later. He then put the phone down. Babe, what are you doing? Aw, Killa. Hi, Killa. Thank you for the resub. 5 months. My goodness. Thank you so much. That's super kind of you. How are you? Of course, Hunt Showdown. I should have known. Uh, 40, no, 50. We're at 50 now. I should have known. Hunt Showdown. It's so good to see you. How are you? Doing well, just back from a great dinner with my team. Well, that's fantastic. It's always great to have a little chow time with the people you work with, you know? De-stress, get to know each other, or continue to know each other. It's always good stuff. Definite 10 out of 10 recommend. Don't talk about work. Just talk about life. Good stuff. Well, thank you for the resub. It's very kind of you. I have not been very good at resubbing to people lately, mainly because I'm waiting for funds to show up. My usual PayPal source of income has been a bit dry lately, and so I'm behind the 8 ball on subscribing to all my friends, and I feel bad about that. But I appreciate it for what you've done here and now. Oh, that means also your name goes in the drawing. Haha. Let me get out my pen. Kilobyte. I'm doing a drawing for an Amazon gift card. Or maybe Steam, but Amazon was the idea. And once I hit the magic number, I'll be putting everyone's names into a big old tub and figuring out who wins. Whoop whoop. So yes, thank you. And see, the 32 should have increased, but it didn't. Sub goals, so annoying. This tool from Twitch is really ticking me off. Anyway. Calm. We're on page 157 of our book. Glad you're here. Let's see. Babe, what are you doing? Was what we just finished on. Putting my mind to rest. Tomorrow I am transferring all my assets under your name. I will call Dr. Lindell and get the number of someone who can help me. If I need to know the truth, I need to suspect everything. Rachel was tapping on the steering wheel. Her anxiety was getting high, but she finally made it to the destination. That night, their hotel room was quiet. Donnie felt distant as he sat up in bed under the cover with the folder in his lap, reading the pages for hours. Rachel held the remote control and kept changing the channel with the TV on a low volume. She did not want to disturb him and was trying not to invade his privacy as he read his medical records. I don't want to interrupt you, but are you sure you want to do what you said earlier? She asked in a quiet voice. Which part? Transferring my assets or going to see a psychiatrist? It doesn't matter. The answer is yes to both. She picked up the glass of wine and had one last sip before lying down and pulling the cover over her shoulder. She reached out and turned the table lamp off and said, "Good night." He reached out and rubbed her shoulder and quietly said, "I'm sorry, babe. I have to do this." She turned around and put her arm across his thighs under the folder he was holding. "You know I'll always support you no matter what happens. I love you." The next morning, when she woke up, she noticed that Donnie was already dressed. She noticed the folder was on the entertainment center near the TV. All the paper was arranged neatly inside. Donnie was standing in front of the mirror adjusting his tie. He was clean-shaven. His hair was nicely styled. "What time is it, babe?" she asked as she stretched in bed. 6:15. Yes, I know it's a bit early, but I couldn't sleep, he answered while still looking in the mirror. Okay, we'll get ready too. Where are we going? To the office first. We'll take care of all the paperwork today. Then you take whatever I sign and get them notarized. I will call Dr. Lindell and see what I can do about seeing a psychiatrist. There's no time to waste. Okay, is it... Just pausing here real quick. Is it just me, or is it weird that we haven't seen or heard from this Mike guy? Like, he was a big part of this disruption. Showed up in his office, was all mysterious and bad. Somehow got into his penthouse, beat him to an inch of his life, made him transfer $1 million. But we haven't heard from him since. Is that strange? I don't know. Just something I noticed. Saying my thoughts out loud. Rachel got out of bed, and Donnie noticed how beautiful she was, although she had just rolled out of bed. He kept looking at her body through the transparent lingerie. He thought about all those years he had spent with this woman without appreciating her existence in his life. At precisely 8, the couple was walking through the main entrance. Rachel was smiling when she saw him as his old self. He walked confidently. He behaved differently. She thought he was back. He walked into his office and asked Rachel to get everybody in the conference room. He walked to his desk and stood near the window located behind it. He looked out and took a deep breath. He walked into the conference room and sat in his chair. Rachel was already sitting in her chair next to him. She put her hand on his and squeezed gently. First, what I'm going to say is final, and I'm not discussing it. Sally, Mark, I need you both to start working on an agreement. I'm transferring all my assets to Rachel. The room was silent with anxious faces. Donnie gave them a minute to digest the news, then said, I'm protecting everything and everybody, and this is the best way to do it. I trust her. And more importantly, I love her. She squeezed his hand harder. But what does that mean? Like, everything? And protecting everything and everyone from what? Emily was the one who spoke. Emily, we've been working together for many years. You know what's going to happen. There's no way around it. And what? He said with a quieter tone, there is a remote chance that it could have been true. Okay, this is ridiculous. You can't transfer millions in one day. That's absurd. We can think of something else. Can I talk to you alone? Emily asked in a harsh tone. Rachel let go of his hand and put both of hers on her lap. Donnie noticed that she was getting offended, but he also knew she was not the type of person who stood up for herself. That's enough, Emily. It is my money. I can do whatever I want with it. His voice started to get louder. Guys, calm down. I just need to say that we're forgetting something. David interrupted. What about Chris? Who is Chris? Donnie questioned with the same voice. Emily stood up and said, While you've been staying in a hotel room, we've been trying everything possible to make sure you don't get in trouble. Chris is a private investigator who's trying to figure out what happened. Julie, who was sitting at the table, started to sweat and looked down. Who told you to do that? You paid him already? He calmed down, trying to make sense of the latest information. Emily walked to the door to the conference room and said as she was walking, "Yes, Donnie, we paid him. I authorized the payment. I think you're forgetting I am a partner in this office." The slam of the door brought silence to the room again. "Sally, Mark, please start the draft. I want to sign things today." And that's chapter 10. Oh boy. You know, I don't think Donnie is in a normal state of mind right now. And he's trying to kind of just do things on a whim. I don't think he really thought about the fact that he has a partner in the company. Hello. Swinging in to say hello. Hubby is set and asleep. Well, I'm glad to hear he's off to sleep. That's good. You guys have had... You've had a day. It's good to see you. We just finished chapter 10, so we've read chapter 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I'm thinking about reading chapter 11 as well. I don't know. But we're also on a really interesting cliffhanger, so... You know what? No. We're gonna read another chapter. I'll take a listen and catch up tomorrow for sure. Yeah, no worries, of course. It's been actually kind of an interesting set of chapters. I'm pleasantly surprised. Mr. Thomas. Chapter 11 is called Dr. Patel. So I'm assuming this is the person that, like a psychiatrist that Donnie is going to end up chatting with. We're on page 163. Mama House Gaming. So good to see you. How are you? Thank you for shouting out, Mr. Thomas. Wonderful guy. I appreciate you shouting out, newbie. However, she does not stream. All right. This will be our last chapter for the evening. So let's do it. I've been okay, just been lurking in your streams. Yeah, no worries. Hopefully it's been cool, calm, and collected for you. Oh. All right, here we go. Dr. Patel. The anxiety never parted Donnie's mind as he drove to Dr. Patel's office. I mean, it's life. Yeah, I get that. The palpitations as he walked those 2 steps that led to the waiting room joined him while waiting for the time of his appointment with Dr. Patel, his psychiatrist. That was his 6th visit with him. Okay, so some time has passed here. He was recommended by Dr. Lindell. Dr. Patel was highly ranked amongst all the psychiatrists in LA. He read Donnie's medical records and digested them before his first visit. He was well aware of his childhood background, which meant he was able to hit the ground running. He dug deep into his past to explain Donnie's present. After each visit, Donnie understood more about his inner self. "Come on in, Mr. Jackson." Dr. Patel's voice broke the anxiety cycle as he opened the door to his office and invited him in. Donnie walked in without saying a word. He lay down on the sofa. He knew the drill by now. "Mr. Jackson, let's begin where we ended last week," Dr. Patel said as he put the recorder on the table between them. "Tell me about that holiday when your dad disappeared." All of a sudden, the memories started to flow back to him as he closed his eyes. That morning when he was in his room looking at his outfit, he couldn't wait for the evening to come to go trick-or-treating. He remembered his mother looking stressed out on the phone, but was trying her best to hide it. He wasn't sure where his father was at that moment, but at some point that day he came home, took some documents, and left. As he was leaving, his mother was trying to ask him questions, but he was in a hurry. Nothing, however, was going to distract him from the joy he was planning on having dressed up as a cowboy. It was his favorite cartoon, Sheriff Mike. Mike is the sheriff of a small town. Okay, hold on, that guy that came and beat him up is also named Mike. Coincidence? Maybe not. Mike is the sheriff of a small town, which was famous for its big bank that was the target of many gangs in the West. But because of Mike, the people felt safe. The bank was never robbed. He wasn't the usual sheriff that chased gangs on his horse. Instead, he used to hide in the places where he thought the robbers would be. He would shoot them in the hand, and then when they dropped their gun, he arrested them. So, Mike is the good guy who arrested the bad people, Dr. Patel interrupted. Donnie nodded his head in agreement as he started to make a link. His plans for a full-blown fun night were not complete. He had to go trick-or-treating with his mother and his sister. He was hoping to be driven by his father, but still, he got to correct people when they said he was dressed up as a cowboy. He yelled with a big smile, "Sheriff Mike," as he took the candy and ran back to the car. Later that evening, he had a Halloween bag full of candy. He was so excited, but he couldn't help but notice that his mother was texting with a phone in one hand and a glass of wine in the other. She looked distracted and sad. Natalie was in her room listening to music. He went to his room and pretended to catch the bad guys. He was jumping from the bed to the ground and hiding behind the wardrobe, waiting for the bad guys to show up to shoot them in the hand. His holster got stuck on one of the wardrobe handles and one of his jumps and broke. He was heartbroken. Not more so when he discovered that his plastic gun was broken in half. He went to Natalie's room and knocked on the door, but the music was so loud that she couldn't hear him. He ran down to the living room where his mother was. She was on the phone, and as he spoke, she gestured to him that she couldn't talk to him because she was on the phone. Nothing was going to stop him from playing Sheriff Mike's role, but he couldn't use a broken gun. He went to his parents' room, opened the wardrobe, and got the real holster. It was so big, but he made it work. He stuffed clothes underneath the belt and continued playing. He played for hours. He caught so many bad guys. The usual yelling alerted him to the arrival of his father. He was late, as usual, drunk this time. He remembered his mother yelling something about missing Halloween with the kids, and him telling her that he lost everything and trying to explain what happened to the business. Nothing that a 10-year-old would understand, but a 10-year-old can still sense a problem. And when there was yelling, Donnie hid under the bed. That was his safe place when he got in trouble. In the beginning, nobody was able to find him. Then everybody in the house knew that this was where he usually hid when it got tough. He was so tired that he slept in his outfit. The yelling woke him up. Then yelling made him hide under the bed. Then he heard the footsteps on the stairs. Hiding, yelling, bad guys, sheriff, and a gun. The bad guy was here. Sheriff Mike will take care of it. It's okay, Donnie. You can sit up. Have a sip of water. Does that mean I'm the cowboy? It's all in my head? He asked, wiping the tears that crawled down his face as he was swimming through the ocean of his memories. Keep talking, Mr. Jackson, Dr. Patel encouraged him. When something bad happens, Sheriff Mike takes care of it. The first time was when I was about to take a chase that had no merit, but I was willing to make up lies so that my defendant wins. Donnie looked at Dr. Patel, who did not say anything, trying to give Donnie the chance to keep talking. The second time was when I was in the penthouse with Rachel. She got mad for the first time in our relationship, and I felt guilty. I made her feel that way. Does that mean it's all in my head? I cannot conclude that for you, Mr. Jackson. My job is to see you driving down that road. And if you deviate, I put my hand on the steering wheel to swerve back in. Nobody's seen this guy. Security cameras were either missing or on my phone that was missing. One day I saw him outside of a bar, but when I called everybody, he wasn't there. It could all be a delusion. Let's call it a day for now. You've done an excellent job today and make great progress. Let me see you again next week. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Am I at risk to others, Doctor? He questioned in a form of begging for answers. As of now, I don't believe so. I cannot predict the future. Mike might resurface at any point. What I would recommend is psychotherapy, group therapy, and behavioral therapy. How could I not remember any of those events until now? It's Freud's theory of repression. We subconsciously repress memories, thoughts, or feelings that have caused a tremendous amount of pain. The individual even becomes unaware of its existence. The air felt different. He became aware of his breathing on his way to the car. He remembered his mother's words when she told him that night that she was going to tell him something the next morning. She wanted to show him something. Maybe his medical records. The feeling of anger at her hiding those secrets over all those years started to dissipate. The feeling of guilt for being mad and raising his voice began to replace any other feeling. But what was worst of all were the intense waves of the feeling of fear. What if he was the one who actually did it? No, 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 he yelled while hitting the steering wheel. The new penthouse that Rachel bought was actually quiet when he arrived. She spent most of her time at work. Now that she was the owner of everything in this period, she had to take care of the business. Even when she came home, she was distant. Or at least that's what it felt. Or what he felt. He picked up his phone and tried calling her without success. It went through to voicemail, but there was no point in leaving a voice message. He had already done that before his appointment with Dr. Patel. He thought about the times he couldn't be bothered with voicemails and deleted them if he did not recognize the numbers. The pillow was his gate to shutting down. The silence of loneliness was the key to comfort. And he shut down. Babe? He woke up to Rachel's voice and the sound of the key hitting the marble kitchen table. He could hear her opening the fridge and getting plates out. He couldn't remember what time he fell asleep or how long he had been asleep. He walked to the kitchen, shuffling his feet, and saw Rachel sitting at the kitchen table, reading a piece of paper and holding a spoon in the other hand. I am famished, she said, without taking her eyes off the paper. Are you okay? Can we talk, Rachel? Yes, babe, give me 2 seconds. I have to make a phone call after I read this. This building on 5th Avenue will have an inspection soon. I need to call this woman to arrange for... I'm moving out, he said without paying attention to anything that was said. She put down the spoon and the paper and slowed down her chewing speed. Why? What happened? Today was... different. I'm just worried that I might hurt someone else. I need to be away from everything and everybody while I'm going through treatment. It may get more intense. But why today? What happened in your session today? Her voice was getting more upset. So were her facial expressions. I just love you so much. I just don't want to risk the circumstances. I don't get it. I just don't... And before she was able to finish the sentence, he grabbed her face and kissed her passionately. She couldn't help but kiss him back. He let go for a second and whispered, I love you so much. She put her hand behind his neck and pulled his head back and kissed him again. She took off her jacket and they both walked to the bedroom while kissing and taking off an item of clothing after every other step. By the time they got to the bed, they were completely naked. Rachel jumped on the bed, held his wrists, and pulled him towards her. He buried his face in her neck. Then he felt the world was so small for his troubles. The next morning, when Rachel woke up, she couldn't feel his arm around her like she was used to. She turned around and saw his spot empty. Babe? She yelled. She got up and wrapped the bedsheet around her naked body and looked around. She couldn't see anything unusual. All his clothes were there. She looked in the bathroom. All his accessories were still in their place. She walked to the living room, looking for clues to his whereabouts, but couldn't find anything unusual. She went to the other bathroom, but he wasn't there. She walked to the kitchen and saw the rest of her food and the letter she was reading the night before, but there was another piece of paper on top of it. She opened it and read, Dear Rachel, I'm not in a good place right now. There's a big possibility that I have been the cause of everything that has been happening. For the safety of you and others, I've decided to temporarily be by myself and focus on recovering. I can't explain further. I know I've left everything in safe hands. You know the ins and outs of everything concerning the company. It will grow bigger and better under your supervision. Please tell everyone not to worry about me. You are all the family I have left. But sometimes you have to make hard decisions to end up with good results. The thought of being away from you is killing me. I never knew I loved you as much as I did. I'm sorry about everything. I will contact you soon. With love, Donnie. She shook her head, put the letter back on the table, and picked up the paper she was reading the night before. And that concludes chapter 11. Interesting. Very interesting. That takes us to page 175, which means we have about 75 pages left in our story. Now, remember, this is a part 1 in a series of, I think, 3. So, how this book ends is anyone's guess, because technically it's not ending. It's just pausing. So if you're interested in finding out more about the rest of the books, feel free to !honest in chat, and that will give you a link to this book and subsequent books thereafter. But that is our reading for tonight. Pausing. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it ends, you know? How this book finishes. Because I'm not sure. But it's been interesting. We had a rocky start with this book. No lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. And I've, you know, passed on the oddness of what we've uncovered so far to the woman that I've been talking to that's done the editing. I believe she may be the co-writer as well. I'm not 100% sure. But I wanted to... I know she's the editor, or helped with the editing at least. But anyway, I wanted to make sure somebody knew, right? Because the things that we stumbled across are definitely the kind of things that you're going to want to try and fix if you can. And I would want someone to do that for me, for my book, you know. So, anyway, these past few chapters have been quite interesting. I'm intrigued. So we'll have to see how it goes. But for now, we need to find someone to raid. I've had a couple of people up on my other screen, or other window, whatever you want to call it. But who haven't we raided in a while? Who's out there? Just taking a quick look at my list. There's a lot of people on right now. Holy cow. So many people. Stay safe and warm. Thank you. Yes, Blizzard is on its way. Can't wait. Blizzard-like conditions. So fun. I've already used the snowblower twice this week. Can't wait to do it again. So fun. God bless SoCal. Yeah, rub it in, okay? I think we got like 15 to 18 inches the first round, and then 2 or 3 more after that. So I'm not really sure how much we're going to get now. But enough is enough. Enough is enough. Shoot. Well. You know what? We'll go say hi to Mr. Carrington. Don't worry, I will. Okay. Mr. Carrington is playing Starfield. I like the guy. What can I say? He's good people. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you for everyone that has resubbed. I appreciate you dearly. It is a blessing for me. So, thank you. I will be back on Sunday. We'll keep going with our story, see what happens. And, yeah. Between now and then, stay safe. If I don't talk to you, have a great weekend. Please, 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 please be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Of course, take care of yourself. And have a fantastic night. Good night.
It just works anywhere.